Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
All right, y'all. Boy, I tell you what, this thing is getting deep, y'all. And I know this might be off topic, but it's something that I absolutely have to tell you. America has destroyed Iran's financial institution. The people over there don't have access to their money. They can't access their accounts. Many of their banks were bombed. And I'm going to do a live on this to get more in detail. But Iran just said they are about to attack US banking institutions, and it's only in retaliation for America and Israel destroying their banking institution. So they're telling people to stay at least 1 kilometer away from US banks because they're going to start bombing banks and doing cyber attacks so that people don't have access to their money. So, y'all, it's about to get ugly. Now, here are the things, and like I said, I'm going to do a live on this to give y'all more details, but this is what the Iranians are saying. They're going to target banks, water systems, and power grids in the US. So, all I have to say to y'all is if you can get some or, a decent amount out of your bank account just to have it so you're not going to be without any funds, I would recommend you doing that. And I'm not going to just tell you to do it and I myself don't do it. I'm going to do it myself, have like a set amount of money because if you don't have access to your account because of what Iran is saying they're going to do, only because America has done this to them. And by the way, it's happening in Israel too. Iran, over these last few days, started bombing Israel's banks. So it's happening to them. It has not happened to us yet, but Iran said it's coming. All right. They're saying it's coming. So we'll get more into this. You've got to give me time to get everything set up, but we will get more into it. But actually, Iran has been attacking the water in this country, which I'm finding out for the first time. They were able to breach a dam, and I did not even know about it until now. But they said, yeah, they have the ability to do cyber attacks and even impact our water. So, y'all, we gonna have to start preparing ourselves because life. I believe life in America is no longer going to be comfortable. And one thing about us, because of all the racism and things that we have gone through, one thing about us, we almost expect anything. But these other groups, they have been in complete comfort and they never had to worry about racist attacks and racism through laws and, or racist people sitting in high places making, just trying to make our lives miserable. See, they never had to deal with that before. But for the first time, many of these people that went out of their way to make us uncomfortable, they're about to be uncomfortable up in here, y'all. you know? And all I have to say is if you can prepare yourself, then do what you need to do. Okay? Do what you need to do. But most high willing, we should be okay because he'll find a way for us to make it because he has all this time. I have no doubt about it. He will be there for us. But for these other people, it is about to be pure hell up in here. But one thing the Iranians said, y'all, they said they gonna mess up the credit system in this country and give everybody an 800 score credit. Now, see, Iran, I love that. Thank you, Iran. They said they gonna mess up the credit system and give everybody an 800 score, which is the absolute best you can have, right? So when you see an 800 score, y'all grab up all the loans and everything you can. Grab it all up. So anyway, y'all, they said they gonna mess it up because they know about this old credit system, and even the credit system, y'all, to many degrees is racist because we know we can have a score and a white person can have the same score and they can get all kinds of money and credit and they'll make up all kinds of excuses on why we can't have anything. So now that part I do like, that one kind of put a smile on my face there, Iran. Go for it. Go for it, Iran. I know a lot of people are going to love you for that. All right, y'all. That's okay. 800 can get you a lot of things. You know what I mean? Things that you might not have qualified for. All right, y'all. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's get into the reason why we are here. China has come forward in the media, and I'm going to play what China said. And what they're saying is not to, some of them are not talking directly to us, but you get the gist of it. They're addressing America. They are. And they're pretty much saying if the United States and Israel don't back off of Iran, who is their ally, China is going to join them in the fighting. So China is going to get in the physical fight side by side with Iran. China also made it clear you use nuke on us, we use nuke on you. So whatever you do to, what they're pretty much saying to the US, whatever you do to us, we have the ability to do it right back to you. And they do. Now, Iran may have medium range and short range missiles, but China don't. China got missiles that can reach mainland America. They do. And so if they get in it, then that's going to be a game changer for real. And Russia is already helping. Russia and China actually have been helping them the entire time. It's like I told y'all a few days ago, 1 month before all of this jumped off, Russia and China gave ammo and all kinds of missiles to Iran 1 month before the US and Israel started with them. They gave them all kinds of ammo. That's why they said they're overflowing with ammunition and can go for the next 10 years. So, y'all, whether Donald Trump is listening or not, that's a whole different issue. Whether he takes it seriously or not, that's a whole different issue. And also, Iran has threatened the life of Donald Trump. So Donald Trump is a target. Donald Trump is a target. They've already made it clear. Donald Trump, they're going to try to take Donald Trump out. So, y'all, I don't know. How does the U.S. back out of this mess they never should have been involved in? you know, and now, I watched a video a few days ago, and it was a white man. And you know what he said? He said, the only way out is the US to just cut Israel off, cut them off completely. And we get out of this whole thing and move forward. I don't think it works like that. America went in there with Israel and they bothered a country that was not bothering us. And I even looked online. There's a few more nations that have come forward to condemn the US for what they've done. And y'all, man, if you don't have to be around many of these federal buildings, because that's what they're going to be targeting, many of these federal sites and buildings and government buildings, if you don't have to be around those areas, don't, because it may not be safe. And make sure your children even know what's going on. Just make sure they know what's happening. Because I know sometimes they're focused on school and everything, but they should still know what's going on. So y'all, let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, please give me a 1 if you can see my screen. Give me a 1 if you can see my screen. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Ceasefire and stop the war.
Calling the U.S.-Israeli strikes on Iran an unnecessary war, China's top diplomat on Sunday reiterated Beijing's message to Washington on the sidelines of the country's biggest political event of the year.
The Chinese side would like to once again call for an immediate halt to military operations, preventing the situation from escalating in successive rounds and avoiding the spillover and spread of the flames of war.
I also asked the foreign minister a few questions.
Since Donald Trump's return to the White House, U.S.-China relations have been tumultuous, so his planned visit to Beijing later this month has been highly anticipated. Given this, how will the ongoing U.S.-Israeli strikes on Iran affect this trip?
This year is indeed a big year for China-U.S. relations. The agenda for high-level exchanges with the U.S. is on the table. What is required is for both sides to make thorough preparations to create a conducive environment to manage existing differences and to remove unnecessary disruptions.
If you want to impose nuclear war on China, you will be wiped out by nuclear war. If you want to have
Okay. Now, Sonia T, I did see what you wrote, and I'm going to respond to you. Yes, they said they're not after the citizens, but they are right. And, but please go look at the more updated videos. Iran said they are coming after the banking institution because America and Israel destroyed theirs. And there is footage of America blowing up banks in Iran. So they are going to destroy the banking system in America. Is it going to impact citizens? Yeah. You cannot guarantee citizens are not going to be harmed in a war. That is impossible. That is absolutely impossible. They may have the intention of not harming us, but we know when war is going on and missiles are flying and rounds are being shot off, everybody's a target at that point. No country can guarantee in a war that citizens won't be harmed. That has never happened in any war, and it's not going to happen in this one. That's all I can tell you. All right, let's go on.
War, you will get war. If you want to destroy China, you will be destroyed. This is very serious. China's policy is very clear. China will not fire the first shot, but China will not allow you to fire the second shot. China is the only country with hydrogen bomb. And that ICBM can cover every corner of the world in less than 20 minutes and destroy any target in any corner of the world without any possibility of being intercepted. I hope Washington has learned the lesson.
China has officially entered the chat, not with strong words only, but with a stern warning to the United States if this conflict isn't ended immediately. Take a listen.
If you want to impose nuclear war on China, you will be wiped out by nuclear war. If you want to have war, you will get war. If you want to destroy China, you will be destroyed. This is very serious. China's policy is very clear. China will not fire the first shot, but China will not allow you to fire the second shot. China is the only country with hydrogen bomb. And that ICBM can cover every corner of the world in less than 20 minutes and destroy any target in any corner of the world without any possibility of being intercepted. I hope Washington has learned the lesson.
At this point, I don't know what to believe, so I'm gonna let y'all be the judge.
If you want to have war, you will get war. If you want to destroy China, you will be destroyed. If you want to impose nuclear war on China, you will be wiped out by nuclear war.
Now this motherfucker right here came out guns blazing, straight to the motherfucking point. But is this a direct message?
China will not fire the first shot, but China will not allow you to fire the second shot.
Is this a direct message to the Trump administration? Or is this an all-out message to the whole wide world? I mean, come on now. The last thing we want to do is go to war with China.
One of the weapons China demonstrated, we call it 61, because it can contain 60 nuclear warheads, plus one hydrogen bomb. Now, in the world of today, let me tell you, which country has hydrogen? China is the only country with hydrogen.
Count me out. This guy said a hydrogen bomb. The last thing we want to do is go to war with China. And what would be the purpose for this war? But I'm so interested to know y'all thoughts. Do you believe this video was directed to us? And shit, when was this video made? Is it recent or is it old? This shit finna get crazy, man.
Welcome back. I'm here now with Gordon Chang. We just spoke with House Majority Leader Steve Scalise, and China says it is sending a special envoy on Middle Eastern affairs to the region to conduct mediation efforts, they claim. Beijing condemning the attacks earlier this week, now having to rely more on Russian oil due to massive supply disruptions in the Strait of Hormuz. China buys up to 80% of Iranian oil. Meanwhile, the Wall Street Journal is reporting that China is now accelerating production of submarines to attack the United States. Closer to home, writing, quote, China has been developing new submarine technology and a bigger, better fleet that is gaining on the United States and its allies, spurring a new undersea arms race in the Pacific. These subs that can strike U.S. from closer to home, the U.S. Navy is warning. Joining me now is Gatestone Institute Senior Fellow Gordon Chang. Gordon, that is some statement that the Navy has warned us about.
Yes. You know, the Chinese, they don't actually need better submarines. All they need to do is stay close to their shores in what they call the bastion areas, like the Yellow Sea. But obviously, they do want subs to be able to get closer to the U.S. And by the way, we have Chinese submarines in the Arctic, which would be very, very close to Alaska and the homeland. So this is really an important development. And we have got to make sure that we have got the attack subs that can take out those ballistic missile submarines of the Chinese.
It's incredible. You know, the Hudson Institute has reported that China armed Iran with advanced missiles. Every warhead carries Chinese components. We've reported on this program many times that China sends these components to Iran. The guidance systems, the propellant chemistry. China provided air defense systems to Iran. U.S. and Israeli strikes decimated them. And that China invested $100 billion in Iranian infrastructure. I mean, clearly, China is on the side of Iran with all of this. And then they want to send a Mideast envoy to go condemn the attacks today. How do you see this?
Well, first of all, that envoy is going to try to stop the United States from attacking Iran. And clearly what we should be doing is ignoring this guy. You know, the Chinese are an enemy combatant. That's the way we should treat them. They have been supplying Iran with all the components for their weapons, as you just talked about. Diplomatic support, propaganda support, elevated commodity purchases. Last year, 87.2% of Iran's exports of crude went to China. It's across the board support. And so the United States just needs to say, look, we want to stop this. We have to also impose costs on China.
Yeah. So why have we been buying drones from China for so long? I asked the chairman of the Intelligence Committee this yesterday. Rick Crawford was my special guest. And I want to get your take on this. I know at this point, we've stopped buying Chinese drones from DJI, but there are so many of them already in our arsenal. Here's what he told me yesterday. Watch this. Congressman, what about all of those drones right now in our arsenal that China made?
The drone manufacturing has moved so fast. Heck, I've got companies in my district that were engaged in this 10 years ago, but they were outpaced by the Chinese. They wanted to be able to offer these products to American farmers, but they couldn't keep pace because the technology changed so quick, and they were outfunded, and they had to go a different direction with it. So now we're reliant on these Chinese drones. We can't continue with that type of footing.
Do you believe this operation in Iran is as much about China?
It's a very tenuous relationship. I know that they try to characterize this as an affable relationship, and I get it, because that personally they may have an exchange that may be favorable. But broadly speaking, the Chinese Communist Party is not our friend. This attack on Iran was not an attack on China, but it most certainly is an impact on China.
Has had impact already, hasn't it?
Oh, it certainly has. You know, China did with drones what it's done with a lot of other things: solar panels, medicines. What they do is they flood the market because they give subsidies to domestic producers.
Yeah.
That prevents us from developing our manufacturers. So, of course, DJI had 70, 85% of the international drone market because this was predatory policies. We need those tariffs that President Trump has been putting in place because that is an emergency. And I think the Supreme Court got that one wrong.
Yeah. Okay. So, and you know, to stop a president from using tariffs in an emergency when we've got emergencies all over the place, like 100,000 people dying of fentanyl every year. But let's talk about what's going on in China this week, because China's annual parliament meeting is beginning today in Beijing. Leaders there are expected to discuss and approve policies which they say will expand China's economy. They've got growth targets on the economy of between 4.5% and 5%. Gordon, is there any way in hell that China's economy is growing 5% right now, in your view?
No, and that's what they reported for last year, 5.0. It was maybe 2.5 if they were lucky. Maybe there was no growth at all. You know, there was a Harvard Kennedy scholar who came back from a tour of China at the end of last year. He reported that the overall unemployment rate in China now is 20%. If you look at
unemployment of 20%
overall, which means that youth unemployment is probably double that. That's inconsistent with the notion of 5.0% growth.
Yeah.
You know, they can say 4.5, 5.0 for this year, but it's probably going to be negative, and especially because China's in a deflationary period. By the way, with all of the problems in the Strait of Hormuz, gas prices in China up 11.0%. Diesel up 13.5%.
Yeah.
And the National Development and Reform Commission is telling refiners, don't export anything and cancel contracts if you can.
Well, it's this indirect message, which I love what President Trump is doing here, because he's always telling us what great friends they are. And at the same time, he's saying, okay, well, you want to, you know, in so many words, you want to hold back critical minerals? Well, maybe you won't get the oil that you need, given the situation at hand. Axios sounding the alarm over the Pentagon's ban on Anthropic.
If y'all have not watched the news, it looks like China is threatening the United States with their nuclear weapons, which are called 61, because they can release 60 warheads plus a chemical on them per atomic bomb. This is a message for the yellow man. The United States of America does not feel threatened by your threat. Our Navy, Air Force, and our Army military will drop bombs that include almost 5,200 warheads. That is not triple or quadruple your weapons. Those are 1,000 times more warheads than your weapons. So I'm going to ask to the yellow man to back down and step down, because the United States military has an oath to the United States, to the people of the United States, regardless of who the president is. You have the choice to delegate and sit down and negotiate in regards power, lust, greed, and power. But your atomic weapons with 61 warheads are nothing compared with the United States of America military. We have 5,100 warheads per atomic bomb. This means that if the United States of America military decides to drop atomic bombs on your land, you will completely be desert. You will be completely unhumanized and unfertilized. And for anybody that goes out there proclaiming or asking for anybody to kill our states, you really must be out of your mind.
China made Donald Trump tremble with a direct warning. If the United States continues bombing Iran after officially declaring war, Beijing will intervene militarily to defend its ally and protect its vital interests in the Middle East. China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs described the massive attacks against Iranian nuclear facilities as an imperialist war crime that violates the UN Charter, demanding that Trump immediately stop the aggression. Xi Jinping angrily called Trump, warning that any escalation will trigger an immediate and forceful response, with Chinese destroyers heading toward the Persian Gulf and direct support for Tehran. China, which depends on Iranian oil for its economy, has already ordered the evacuation of its citizens from Iran and deployed its most powerful navy near the Strait of Hormuz. Trump fired back by threatening 100% tariffs against Beijing, but China responded, the United States does not rule the world. Russia and North Korea closed ranks with Beijing, creating an anti-Trump coalition that could set the planet on fire. Will China go to war against Trump? Will World War III break out?
China has issued a sharp warning following continued U.S. strikes on Iran. Beijing condemned the attacks as a violation of international norms and called for an immediate halt to military escalation. Any further expansion of the conflict could trigger what they described as a necessary response to protect regional stability and strategic interests. President Xi Jinping reportedly spoke directly with Donald Trump, urging restraint and warning of consequences if operations intensify. Meanwhile, reports indicate increased Chinese naval movement near key shipping corridors, including areas surrounding the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most critical energy choke points. Beijing has also begun evacuating its citizens from parts of the region. The White House responded with economic pressure, threatening steep tariffs on Chinese imports. China answered with a blunt message: the United States does not rule the world. At the same time, Moscow and Pyongyang signaled diplomatic alignment with Beijing, calling for coordinated resistance to what they described as destabilizing actions. Global markets reacted. Oil surged. Defense analysts warned that miscalculations between major powers could rapidly expand the conflict beyond its current scope. Supporters argue strong pressure deters long-term threats. Critics say global polarization is accelerating. Now, the question, is this high-stakes brinkmanship or the first step toward a much larger confrontation?
Well, I'll give China some credit. At least they're getting their people out of there before dropping a bomb. They got sense. And that's what Donald Trump should have done before anything was done. Make sure the people that were American got out of there, but he didn't care. So the fact that China is evacuating, they must know that they're probably going to have to dive in on this war. But we shall see. But no matter what, it's not going to be a good situation for the US. Y'all, they're saying this thing is costing $1 billion per day. That is just outrageous. Money being spent that could have been used for something like our reparations. You want to give 1 billion a day, you could have gave that to us. C stand 532, thank you for gifting 5 memberships. I deeply appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, well, North Korea did speak out today too against, the US starting this war. But at the end of the day, y'all, Donald Trump put us in a bad situation. And let me tell y'all something, especially you people that have been in charge all this time, nobody's going to ever trust you again. Just understand the damage this has done. There is no nation and no place on this earth that's going to ever trust doing business with the US. You watch. When this whole thing is over, nobody will want to deal with any of y'all. You are going to be deemed as untrustworthy. Thank you, Jeffrey Massey, for the super sticker and your support for my channel. Y'all just don't know. People are not going to forget this. And when Donald Trump attempts to do deals, nobody is going to do deals with Donald Trump. I'm telling you, I know what I'm talking about. Nobody is going to do any deals with Donald Trump. They're not going to trust. They already didn't trust him before, but they really don't trust him now. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they really are. People are going to flock to China, Russia, and even Iran. Iran is probably going to get business they never had before. But the world is not going to come to the US for any deals. They're not. Donald Trump will probably continue to get on TV and lie that people are trying to reach out to him and talk. He's lying, y'all. Nobody is reaching out to Donald Trump. Every time he gets on TV saying that, it's a bold-faced lie. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a lot of people, I see, I don't know if any of you noticed, but I have seen a lot of MAGA. Remember when people were, around the election time, were complaining about the grocery prices and the gas and the high bills and everything everybody was dealing with, and MAGA just kind of laughed it off as nothing? Well, guess who's online complaining about gas prices? MAGA. MAGA is on videos crying about how high the gas has gotten in America. And you don't know, as long as this war is going on, it's going to continue to skyrocket. So y'all better dig a little deeper in your pockets, MAGA, because these prices are not going to go down. But see, that's what you get for laughing at other people that were concerned about the prices and the food and everything. You were laughing, but I guess it ain't funny no more, is it? And it's also not funny, just the thought. Another thing, y'all, they fear being drafted. I'm seeing those videos too. MAGA is in fear of being drafted. And you should be drafted. Y'all voted for him. You should be the one drafted. Who else should it be? Yeah, y'all. But you know what? Leave it up to them folks to get us in a big mess like this. It's so typical. So typical. Oh yeah, I saw Teacher 2107. I've seen in some areas it's well over $4. So it really depends on where you are in the country. But yeah, I mean, the prices are absolutely outrageous. And it's going to get, they already warned the public, it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. Even Donald Trump said the prices, everything's going to go up. And it is. Look, even my supplies that I get from my hair products has jumps, and some of the bottles I get have gone up as much as $5 more than what I was paying before. So I'm already seeing it too, just in getting my business supplies. Oh, and did you see the way Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump was trying to deny bombing that school over in Iran that took out, I think, 153 girls? I saw an aerial shot of all the graves they dug out for those children, and it was a lot. And it was a Tomahawk missile that hit the school, which is absolutely the US, because Iran don't have Tomahawk missiles. But they were trying to say Iran bombed their own school, and Iran got the missile, and it's a Tomahawk, and the only one that got a Tomahawk is the US. So they're in serious denial of the fact that they took those girls out. They're trying not to take responsibility for bombing a school. So, y'all, I am going to go ahead and conclude. I thank you for being here, and I will try my best to stay on top of this, and give you the pertinent information about what's going on. And unfortunately, some people are calling it the Epstein War, and some are calling it, because it's Operation Epic Fury, some people are calling it Operation Epstein War. It's just, it's a damn shame that we have to be in this world and the Gentiles are in charge. Now, do you understand why the Most High said, once they are taken out of power, they can never, ever have power or rule this world again? Do you now see why? I sure do. And I agree 100%. They should never, ever have power again. Never. Because when they have power, no one is safe. So, y'all, have a wonderful afternoon. My next live is at 3:45. I will see you then. Shalom, family.